Keep pounding, Panthers fans. We are standing at a massive crossroads for our franchise, and the tension is absolutely electric. Our starting quarterback is entering a career-defining year, facing a prove-it season that carries the weight of a potential long-term extension or a total shakeup. Experts are already drawing bold comparisons to other high-stakes situations across the league, questioning if our signal caller can truly secure his future here in Carolina. Is he ready to lead us to the promised land, or are we headed for a difficult decision? Smash that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Let's dive into this situation. Bryce Young enters the 2026 NFL season, facing the most significant challenge of his career as he steps into a contract year that will define his future. The Carolina Panthers have made it clear that this is a critical prove-it season for their quarterback. After 3 seasons of steady development, the organization is no longer looking for flashes of potential or gradual improvement. The standard has been raised, and the team expects consistent high-level production throughout the entire 2026 campaign. For Bryce Young, this is the ultimate opportunity to secure a long-term extension that could solidify his status among the higher-paid signal callers in the league. The pressure is immediate and immense, as the margin for error has vanished. Throughout the recent minicamp at the Bank of America Stadium, all eyes remained fixed on Bryce Young, who continues to navigate this pivotal transition. The Panthers have structured their roster to compete now, surrounding him with new talent while bolstering the defense with key acquisitions like Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd. With the supporting cast strengthened, the responsibility to elevate the offense falls squarely on the shoulders of Bryce Young. There is no doubt that the team is built to win, and they are operating with the expectation that productive quarterback play is the missing link to success in the NFC. As he prepares for the upcoming challenges, the narrative surrounding him has shifted from development to delivery. Fans continue to echo the team's spirit as they watch his progression, knowing that to see this group reach its full potential, they must keep pounding. The reality is that Bryce Young is at a crossroads where his performance will directly dictate the financial and structural future of his career in professional football. The high stakes surrounding Bryce Young have drawn comparisons to the situation Baker Mayfield faced during his final season with the Cleveland Browns. Albert Breer, in his recent analysis on the Breer Report, highlighted that both quarterbacks reached a point in their 4th years where the organization moved into a wait-and-see approach. Just as Baker Mayfield played out his 4th season following a playoff appearance, Bryce Young is entering this campaign after his own debut on the postseason stage. Although that game resulted in a loss, Bryce Young demonstrated notable poise, which provided the organization with a baseline of performance to build upon. However, the comparisons also bring up the volatility of these scenarios. Baker Mayfield dealt with severe injury-plagued play during his final year in Cleveland, which ultimately led to the Browns deciding to move in a different direction. Bryce Young must avoid similar setbacks if he hopes to secure a top-of-the-market deal. The pressure on Bryce Young is not just about stats. It is about proving that he can lead the team with the consistency required for an elite salary. The Panthers are currently evaluating if they are willing to commit the massive financial resources required for a top-tier quarterback contract. While Bryce Young has shown improvement, the front office is looking for evidence that he can be the long-term solution. This puts every snap under the microscope, as the team balances its desire to compete with the necessity of being certain about their leader. By putting him in this situation, the franchise is testing whether his trajectory is steep enough to warrant a major investment. As the season approaches, the focus remains entirely on whether Bryce Young can translate his experience into the high-level efficiency that the front office clearly demands from their franchise quarterback this year. Why does this matter right now for the Carolina Panthers? The team's current roster construction suggests that they are fully committed to winning in 2026. This is not a rebuilding project, and they have not been shy about spending in free agency to ensure that the defense, led by recent additions like Jalen Phillips and Devin Lloyd, remains an elite unit. By investing heavily in the defense and adding offensive pieces like Chris Brazell II, as well as strengthening the protection with left tackles Monroe Freeling and Rashid Walker, the organization has effectively removed the traditional excuses for a quarterback. The success of these roster moves depends entirely on Bryce Young maximizing the opportunities created by his teammates. If Bryce Young performs at an average level, the potential of this roster might go to waste, which is why the stakes are so high. The depth on the team is designed to support a championship-caliber output, provided that Bryce Young can deliver the necessary leadership and production. His growth has been evident since he returned to the starting lineup, but the transition from a developing quarterback to a franchise cornerstone must happen now. The organization's aggressive approach in the offseason signals that they believe they have the tools to contend in the NFC. The weight of this ambition rests on the performance of Bryce Young, who is now surrounded by enough talent to make an impact. For the coaching staff and the front office, there is no more waiting. The personnel decisions reflect an expectation of immediate returns. Consequently, Bryce Young must validate these aggressive moves by elevating his play. His performance is the final variable in a complex equation that determines if the team will be a true contender throughout the 2026 season. Despite the comparisons to the Baker Mayfield situation, there is a fundamental difference in how the Carolina Panthers have managed the tenure of Bryce Young. When Cleveland moved on from Baker Mayfield, it followed 4 years where the team was fully committed to him as a contender. In contrast, the Panthers experienced a notable low point during the second year of Bryce Young, where he was actually benched following a difficult start to the season. This event forced a reset that seems to have altered his path. Since returning to the starting role, Bryce Young has shown consistent growth. While it has not been a rapid ascent, the pace of his improvement has been steady enough that the organization feels justified in its belief that they have the means to compete right now. This makes the current situation for Bryce Young unique. He has already faced adversity and shown the ability to bounce back, which is something the front office is heavily weighing. The decision to move forward with him as the face of the franchise was not made lightly, but it was made with the clear understanding that he must continue to ascend. Carolina's refusal to shy away from being an aggressive team in free agency proves they have not lost faith in the potential of Bryce Young. They have bet on his ability to lead, and they have provided the support system necessary for him to succeed. The pressure for Bryce Young is to prove that the progress he made after his benching was not just a temporary fix, but a permanent shift in his development. His ability to perform under this pressure will determine whether the organization's current strategy is validated or if they are forced to reconsider their long-term path at the most important position on the field. Looking ahead to the upcoming season, the performance of Bryce Young will serve as the primary indicator for the future of the franchise. The addition of experienced talent like Monroe Freeling and Rashid Walker to the offensive line is a strategic move aimed at providing Bryce Young with the time he needs to operate. This allows him to utilize his receivers, such as Chris Brazell II, more effectively. The Panthers are operating with a clear mandate. The team is built to compete in the NFC, and the output of Bryce Young will determine if those expectations are met. The contrast between his past struggles and his current potential is what makes this contract year so vital. Every game will serve as a referendum on his capabilities as a franchise quarterback. If Bryce Young can maintain the poise he showed during the playoffs and combine it with the consistency the team requires, he will be in a position to secure the extension he desires. However, if he fails to elevate his play to the level of the surrounding talent, the organization will face significant questions regarding its future trajectory. The roster is deeper and more balanced than it has been in recent years, which places the burden of success directly on the quarterback. The goal remains to move from a team that is trying to compete to one that is actually winning. Bryce Young is at the center of this transition, acting as the bridge between the team's recent efforts and its future aspirations. As he takes the field, he carries the hopes of an organization that has provided him with everything he needs to succeed. It is now entirely up to Bryce Young to turn this investment into on-field results, as the team looks to move forward in what they hope will be a successful 2026 campaign.